The black and white ruffed lemur is probably not what you think of when someone says world's largest pollinator. That title usually goes to something with wings, but this animal climbs 40-foot traveler's palm trees and uses its bare hands to crack open flowers too tough for anything else, shoves its face in for nectar, and walks away with pollen plastered across that famous ruffle. Then it does it again at the next tree. No other creature has the size, grip, and snout shape to do what this lemur does, which means that palm tree has essentially built its entire reproduction strategy around one specific animal showing up. And that's not even the strangest part of how it operates. Unlike basically every other primate, the black and white ruffed lemur doesn't carry its babies around. It builds a nest of leaves and its own fur about 30 to 60 feet up in the trees and drops the babies in it and goes foraging. That sounds fine until you find out that roughly 65% of those infants fall out and don't survive the fall. The nursery is also the leading cause of death. It's a matriarchal society. The females run the troop, pick the mates, and make every significant decision. These animals have been in Madagascar for about 40 million years, most likely because of a storm or a series of storms broke off vegetation mats from mainland Africa and floated a small population across what is now the Mozambique Channel, back when the crossing was shorter. I'll be honest, I was skeptical. Getting a genetically diverse, sustainable population across an open ocean with a vegetative raft is a hard thing to fully believe. But it was documented recently with some iguanas onto some Caribbean islands, so it's not out of the ordinary. But that's the current thinking, and I'm not going to argue with 40 million years of evidence of something that worked. Their habitat is another story, and this is where things get genuinely murky. About 47% of their forest is gone, cutting into it by mining operations and agriculture, and the loss is ongoing. Conservation agencies have successfully lobbied to ban international trade in the species, and Madagascar has cracked down on poaching partly because of ecotourism. And ecotourism is real money. But nobody actually knows how many of these things are left. You can't count them because they're skittish. They vanish when the humans show up. The rainforest dissolves all scat evidence fast, and fossils are scarce. The working estimate spans a range so wide it tells you almost nothing, between 3,000 and 300,000. What you can say accurately is that the habitat is shrinking, the populations are fragmenting, and fragmented populations can't interbreed. The captive breeding programs are trying, but they've run into a problem that goes beyond biology. These lemurs have 13 documented calls, and at least some of that knowledge is cultural, passed on from mothers to offspring. A lemur raised in a zoo has never heard his mother react to a fossa, which is their primary predator in the wild. It doesn't know what the warning calls mean, and it has no learned response to act on. Out of all of the animals reintroduced so far, one male managed to join a wild group and reproduce. One. Now, I have thoughts on how the programs could do better, including separating the nest fallers. When one falls out of the nest, when one of the infants falls out of the nest, instead of putting it back into the nest so that it can survive, they should take that infant out and put it into the zoo display permanently so that it doesn't get reintroduced, and only introduce into the wilds the ones that manage to stay in the nest. That way, the genetic strength of balance and grip stay with the troop. Another thing they could do is they could have controlled predator exposure through netting and scent, so captive animals have something to react to before they're released. And then they play the calls, and so they hear what the call for a fossa sounds like, and they can see and they can smell a fossa, and they know to escape. But nobody asked me. In the wild, these animals live about 19 years. In captivity, up to 36. The math on what a stable environment does for a species is not subtle.